He's the man.
Say something.
Ever wonder why some memes last forever, while others burn bright and then fade faster than a Snapchat story? Salt Bae is a perfect example of the latter. Remember when Salt Bae was everywhere? From meme sensation to global restaurateur, his rise was undeniable. But what happens when the very charisma that built an empire starts to crumble? Get ready to uncover the shocking truth behind Salt Bae's downfall. He cooked his way into our hearts, then carved his way out of favor. Salt Bae, once the undisputed king of culinary theatrics, has seen his empire wobble. This isn't just about a chef. It's a cautionary tale of how a unique persona, once golden, can turn to dust. But lately, his name's been less about gold and more about scandal. What really happened to the man who brought us the iconic salt sprinkle? Was it inevitable? Or did recent controversies finally tip the scales? From that guy sprinkling salt to a multi-million-dollar empire, Salt Bae built a brand on a unique flair. But in an era where celebrity can crumble faster than a social media trend, his story is a stark reminder that even the most successful can fall. We're dissecting the very elements that made him famous, and how those same elements ultimately contributed to his unexpected unraveling. Just like that Sopranos finale, some endings leave you wondering what truly went wrong. Salt Bae's story is a culinary whodunit. Was it overexposure, questionable antics, or something else entirely that finally pushed him off his pedestal? We uncovered the surprising truths behind the decline of a global phenomenon, and what his cautionary tale can teach us about the fleeting nature of fame in the digital age. I used to think Salt Bae was genius, a true icon. Then something shifted. Have you noticed it too? The whispers, the criticisms, the sudden drop in his star power? From humble beginnings to global sensation. Long before the salt, long before the gold-covered steaks, there was just a boy. A boy born into poverty, in a small mining town in Turkey. Nusret Gökçe wasn't handed anything. His father, a miner, struggled to provide for a growing family. By the time Nusret was in 6th grade, he dropped out of school, not for rebellion, but out of necessity. At just 13 years old, he walked into a butcher shop, not as a customer, but as an apprentice. Long hours, bloody hands, bone-deep fatigue. This was where the legend was forged, not in front of cameras, but behind the counter. While other kids were in classrooms, Nusret was learning about rib cuts, fat marbling, fire control through sweat, not theory. But even then, he had a dream. A vision. Not just to butcher meat, but to own the table it was served on. Opening his own steakhouse wasn't just a business goal, it was the lifeline out of poverty. And he chased it with the same passion he brought to the butcher block. He wasn't rich, he wasn't famous, but he was obsessed. And that obsession was about to meet the internet. Nusret's initial roadblocks to success. With years of sweat behind him and a butcher's blade in hand, Nusret Gökçe was ready to chase the next step, his own restaurant. But having a dream was one thing. Getting the world to believe in it, that was another battle entirely. He had no wealthy backers, no formal business training, just a bold idea. A steakhouse that wasn't just about meat, but about theatrics, energy, passion on the plate. But when he knocked on doors, he was met with doubt. A butcher doing fine dining? With showmanship? It'll never work. Securing funding was nearly impossible. Banks wouldn't take the risk. Investors scoffed at the concept. And when he finally scraped together enough to open a space, location became another curse. Cheap leases meant bad neighborhoods, low foot traffic, or buildings barely fit for a kitchen. The early reviews were far from glowing. Critics called it inconsistent. Diners were confused by the showmanship. And for a time, the dream seemed fragile. Rather than give up, Nusret doubled down. Every criticism became fuel. Every rejection a reason to refine. He sharpened more than knives, he sharpened his entire brand. What began as chaos slowly molded into charisma. And soon, with one viral video, everything would change. The peril of the persona. In 2017, Salt Bae was everywhere. A single, perfectly timed sprinkle, and suddenly, Nusret Gökçe was a global sensation. But the same image that launched his stardom would soon become its prison. At first, the Salt Bae character was irresistible. Cool, silent, mysterious. He wasn't just seasoning meat. He was seasoning culture itself. But as the months turned to years, and the act was repeated in every restaurant, every video, every press moment, the mystique began to fade. What was once magnetic became predictable. What was once iconic started to feel forced. It used to feel real. Now it's like he's just playing a character. The world began to wonder, was it ever real at all? The quiet revelation. Salt Bae wasn't just a butcher. He was a brand. A carefully engineered persona. The authenticity that had drawn millions in, it was part theater, part strategy. And once the curtain was pulled back, the magic was gone. As the world's appetite shifted, Salt Bae's silence spoke volumes. The very charisma that once made him larger than life now made him feel out of touch. When a persona becomes a parody, what's left of the person beneath it? Beyond the sprinkle, the business reality. Behind the glitz, the viral videos, and the diamond-studded steaks, lurked a business model stretched dangerously thin. What began as a culinary empire soon showed cracks not just in reputation, but in revenue. In cities like Miami, London, and New York, reports of astronomical prices and mediocre food became harder to ignore. It was more spectacle than substance. You weren't paying for the steak, you were paying for Salt Bae's shadow. And when the spectacle began to fade, so did the crowds. Celebrity regulars who once lined up for a sprinkle slowly stopped showing up. The press, once enamored, began to circle like vultures. The downturn was no coincidence. It was the result of a business built on a moment, not a model. Nusret's expansion was rapid, maybe too rapid. Luxury dining thrives on exclusivity, not ubiquity. With over a dozen restaurants launched in just a few years, the quality control slipped, the experience dulled, and the hype couldn't sustain the overhead. Salt Bae's story isn't just about viral fame, it's a cautionary tale of unsustainable growth and the dangers of believing your own legend. From butcher to brand and back to reality. The cautionary tale. Salt Bae wasn't just a chef, he was a phenomenon. A human meme. A living spectacle. But what happens when the sparkle fades? This is more than just the story of one man's downfall. It's a lesson in the double-edged sword of viral fame. In an era where charisma can be monetized and memes become million-dollar brands, the hunger for long-term substance often gets lost in the chase for likes. Salt Bae relied too heavily on the image. The moment people got tired of the show, there wasn't enough underneath to keep them coming back. Customer experience, the food, the service, the value became secondary to the sprinkle. And when that sprinkle no longer sparkled, customers walked. The truth is harsh but clear. A brand built on gimmick fades fast. A business built on value, trust, and quality that lasts. For restaurateurs, creators, and influencers alike, Salt Bae's fall is a warning siren. Success isn't just about going viral, it's about staying relevant. Salt Bae changed the culinary world for a moment, but in the end, the sprinkle wasn't enough. And in that lies a lesson for us all.